Welcome to Amiga Ireland. I'm Irla.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Luke.
In today's episode, we'll be looking at DJing using Amiga.
We'll have some feedback from our event in January.
And a new RPG game in the making, a new teaser.
Great. So how's everybody doing, Luke? How are things?
As always, trying to find balance in my life between, like work and retro stuff. Unfortunately, I've been losing.
Never enough hours in the day.
If only the day could have, at least like 48 hours instead of 24.
Absolutely. I hear you. I'm actually battling with an Amiga 4000 here from Carl Jekyll. If he's listening, hi Carl. It's had a bit of a problem with the real-time clock on the board. It's the usual battery leaked everywhere and stuff like that. But it's been dragging its heels, this one. So I'm nearly there. It's kept me busy over the last little while. God
bless the work. I was on Banjo Kayali's podcast just a few days ago, and we had a nice chat there about Amiga and at the event and other stuff like that. So it was good. And actually, Ollie's had some good guests on his channel. So if you want to go and have a look, there'll be a link there in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's planning some Amiga music releases in the coming weeks.
Oh, nice.
So cheers to Ollie for having me on, and massive thanks to everybody who came to Amiga Ireland in January and everyone who helped out and who's been spreading the word since. There's a list a mile long of people to thank, but thanks to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of Ollie's paintings are fantastic. You see them cropping up on Facebook every so often. They're absolutely magnificent works.
Yeah, he's just done one that he was showing me in the video there from Speedball too. A really good one.
Amazing.
Okay, let's move on to the news. A new version of Personal Paint has been released. It's version 7.3c for classic OS3 and OS4. The new features include a polygon mode to grab a brush tool and updated Italian translations. And there are a whole load of bug fixes as well. And the link is in the show notes if you want to see the announcement on abbeyme.net.
Hoffman, a well-known musician and a DJ in a Commodore Amiga environment and society, has prepared a special edition of Unstable Radio with 100% of Commodore Amiga DJ sets using only two Amiga 1200s and a DJ mixer. He's been using PT1210 for quite some time, and that's a pretty good tool if you're interested into DJing and parties and rave stuff and electro stuff. So there is a link in the show notes. I'm sure you won't be disappointed because it's great stuff.
Yeah, and thanks to Andre for the tip for that one.
DOSBox has had a couple of new releases for classic Amigas. So DOSBox is a PC emulator effectively, and it's good for running old DOS software, and it's on basically every platform you can think of. So it's great for running all the old DOS games. So I haven't tried this on a classic. I can't imagine it's going to set the world on fire speed-wise, but it might run some of the very old stuff quite reasonably. There are versions for RTG machines and AGA machines as well.
The DOSBox version was actually written by Novacoder. He's a very talented guy, as far as I remember, from Australia.
Uh-huh.
And he's been releasing ports of Quake, of Quake 2 for 68k Amigas and a lot of other 3D games. He's very talented, and he's very hardworking at the same time. So at some point, I know that he quit Amiga, but I can see that he's back again. Maybe Vampire or the new Warp 1260 accelerator board. Yeah, that's right. Maybe he got some sort of, encouragement while checking news about new hardware.
Yeah. Cool. Well, good to see that anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him back.
WHD Load 18.4 has been released, and you can download that now. And while it's no longer is no longer a for pay piece of software. I'd encourage anyone to donate something to it if you find it useful. Some of the new features include additional fire buttons for joysticks, supporting games like Bubble Bobble now supports 2 buttons. Battle Squadron, there's been support for a 3rd joystick button added, and Super Frog has had a joypad control added, and there are a lot of things like that added to those slaves. So yeah, if you're into those games or you like those features, you can get the download now.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who, has an Amiga and doesn't use WHD load really. It's pretty ubiquitous at this stage.
It is, yeah. I'd be the same though. I think anyone who has a hard disk at all, they probably got it for WHD load. So
yeah,
it's absolutely a must.
Mm-hmm.
I think it cost a tenner at the time to get a registration key, and when I first got WHD load, it had become free. But I sent in the €10 anyway. It was working.
Oh, absolutely, because they do a lot of work, and you can register bugs, and if there are problems with it, even if like one particular game, no matter how obscure, they'll give it a go, and they'll support it, and they'll go about fixing it and stuff. And it really does get regular updates, and it's kind of gets a lot of attention because of the big thing it is. But this is all voluntary stuff, so if some beer money would be greatly appreciated for them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Not only games, but they also support like demos or music discs, or like a very obscure old demos from late 80s, like the first demos that don't run on anything like on an unexpanded Amiga 500 with 512 kilobytes of RAM, so they fix it and make it run on like a high-end Amiga. So if you have like a couple of euro cents or pounds or dollars that you can spare, I strongly suggest to send them, because they are really worth it.
Absolutely. And on the subject of games, let's move on to our gaming section.
The first game that we've got here today is the game called Celtic Heart. We've been talking about a game called Trap Runner. This game, the Celtic Heart, is a similar platformer, but I think the graphics is better, the animation's better. The game is set in the medieval times. It's a platformer, and you control a Celtic knight. It's got 3 different worlds, and it's got 13 levels, an end sequence, and it's really, really good. It's really, really polished, and the requirements are actually minimum. It runs on Amiga 500 or even Amiga 1000, because it only needs 512 kilobytes of chip RAM, and the game is fully downloadable, and you can download it from the link from the show notes.
Port of Castle Wolfenstein for Amiga OS 4 has been completed and released, and that is thanks to, I'm going to make a mess of this now, Hugo Nouvelle, known in the forums and stuff as Huno PPC, and you'll know the name because he's done a lot of OS 4 ports and various bits all over the place for the other platforms as well. Impressive to see. Obviously it's a fairly, as Amiga things go, it's a modern game, and so you'll need a substantial machine to run it, and the graphics card and the whole lot to go with it. But that's an impressive achievement.
And the website was also, I noticed, was created by George Sokianos, who is our resident Greek. So hi, George. Good to see you. Reshoot Or is the successor of Reshoot and is a horizontal scrolling shoot 'em up for Amigas 1200, 4000 and CD32. It's due to be released in the first quarter of 2019, so any day now basically, but the soundtrack has already been released, and the link for that's in the show notes if you want to go. It's roughly just under €15, and it sounds good and the game looks good.
Yeah, it's a funny one because it's a shooter, but it's pretty abstract. The sprites and everything, it looks fantastic and looks very futuristic and stuff like that. It's very interesting. Definitely go and have a look at it if you haven't looked at it before.
The Shadows of Sergoth. It's a game that was actually first released on Amstrad. It's an RPG dungeon crawler, and the teaser is available on Twitter. It's been the teaser's been released by Double Sided Games. The game is actually written by the guys who are responsible for Barbarian Plus. So the graphics is really beautiful for OCS Amiga. What I like after seeing the trailer and the work in progress teaser was the music. It really catches your attention, and it's it fills the environment, and I look forward to that game. It hasn't been released, it's still work in progress, but I think it's gonna be one of those games that I'm gonna spend some time with.
Lovely.
Rygar, the Rygar port is looking very, very good. That's if anyone isn't familiar with it, it's sort of a side-scrolling platformer, kind of beat 'em up, medieval basically themed game. It's it looks really, really good. And it's been on a lot of different platforms over the years, but it's really, really nice to see such a polished port now, and it looks absolutely looks the business.
I think originally Rygar was released on NES.
It's 8-bit anyway. Yeah. Quite possibly.
So I've seen the trailer, and it looks really, really good.
Yeah. So don't let the NES thing put you off. It's like entirely redrawn graphics and everything. It's not a straight port. It's basically a sort of a remake, if you like.
Made from scratch, I think.
Yeah.
For Amiga.
Yeah. It looks really good.
And another good game, Bruce Lee, Return of Fire. Bruce Lee, Return of Fury, for Commodore 64. And Indie Retro News has the scoop on this. And they say, if you love the original game but want to play a fresh, new look to Bruce Lee, while retaining many of the classic core features, then look no further than Bruce Lee, Return of Fury. It's a game that could almost be described as a true sequel to that classic title. That's pretty high praise indeed.
And another game for C64, the title is interesting for me, Tenebra Macabre? Would that be the correct title? Mm-hmm. The game is actually released for C64, Commodore Plus 4 and VIC-20. VIC-20. Mm-hmm. The game's got very interesting, I think it's high-res graphics for C64. A lot of rooms to visit. The graphics is at least the Commodore 64 version, is monochromatic, but highly detailed. Again, the animation is fluid. Every room is really polished, and I look forward to playing that one as well.
Lunark has been announced for the Commodore 64. Thalamus have announced that they're going to port this game to the Commodore 64 as well as the Spectrum Next if the Nintendo Switch and PC versions are backed on Kickstarter. So we talked a few episodes back about an abandoned effort to make Flashback on the Commodore 64, and I think we had a screenshot of that possibly in the show notes. Mm-hmm. But we linked to an article, and it looked really good. It had our main character, what's his name again?
Conrad.
Yeah, Conrad, that's the one. Yeah, so Conrad looked just like the Conrad from the Amiga. This one looks even better. It looks really, really good. I hope they can do a successful port of that. So if you want to see it on Commodore 64, maybe consider backing the PC and Mac versions at the moment.
Starfish is a side-scrolling shooter for the C64. It looks really, really nice. It's got some really cool music, and it's your standard side-scrolling spaceship shoot 'em up kind of thing. And the videos look great. And, check it out if you have the hardware or the emulator.
Okay, let's move on to discoveries. So my discovery is that on Amiga, pixels were not perfect squares, and depending on which screen mode, they were either a bit more portraity or a bit more landscapey. And The reason I found out this nugget of wisdom was because I was thinking if you wanted to do something really large, a large kind of art project, like let's say get squares of coloured paper and reproduce a famous Amiga graphic that only had a small enough palette to it, how would you go about doing it? And, what shape should the pieces of paper be, basically, to reproduce it faithfully? So there's a website, amiga.lichessis.net. I have the link here anyway. And it's basically, the whole website is a beautiful tribute to Amiga graphics. It's called the Amiga Graphics Archive is the title. And they've got beautiful screenshots, game maps, entire levels mapped out and stuff like that. And when you hover on them with your mouse, it reveals the color palette that was used to produce the graphics. It's stunning.
Very good.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I don't know how to pull this off, but I would love to see at the next Amiga event, like a wall covered from floor to ceiling with a giant reproduction of something famous. Like imagine the King Tut, Avril Harrison's King Tut from the Deluxe Paint. Wow. That would be seriously cool. Yeah. Don't be disappointed if you turn up and it's not there, because I don't know how to suspend something like that even in the new venue. Mm-hmm. But interesting. Pixels were not square on the Amiga.
No. And even differed between PAL and NTSC, of course, because there are slightly taller pixels in NTSC. So if you had the same game on both, you'd notice things looking slightly skinnier on the NTSC version, or on if you set the screen mode to NTSC.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, there's a website called amigalove.com, and they have they've kind of been archiving some games onto it with proper screenshots. They take it kind of seriously to have the correct aspect ratio and all that. So you can see what a proper NTSC games, and some of the games, actually most of the ones they have there were probably originally designed for NTSC systems. And they look pretty exquisite, I have to say, in NTSC. Yeah. So there you go. Pixels on Amiga.
Yeah. Hurricane, as the name might suggest, is a Turrican fan-made tribute. Basically, it's a sort of an inspired remake, if you like, and made for modern systems. But it's made for Linux, and so it has been backported, I suppose, if you like, or as a new project, it's been ported to high-end Amigas, and it's also available on PC and Linux. But it's a Turrican style thing with some fancy lighting effects, and essentially a HD remake. It looks fantastic.
It's very faithful. Even the feel of it, and the weapons and the power-ups and the whole shebang there. Yeah, it's really...
Yeah, it's a lot of love in there for it.
And it seems that we've got another reboot. This time it's Super Skid Marks. It's a reboot being made by its original author. I'm sure you remember this game, because it was a very popular racer, 3D like sort of a racer. From the 3D perspective. And I remember one more thing, that you could connect your Amigas with null model cable with this game, which increased the players and increased the fun even more. I hope the online option will be here available as well.
Absolutely.
And the game will be called this time Epic Skid Marks.
You could link them as well as allowing more players. It also lets you play across two screens.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's brilliant to play it like that. It's really, really great game. So can't wait to see that now.
And somebody has knitted or crocheted amazing Lemmings figures. So this, I actually posted this in the Facebook group some while back, but planetjune.com is the website to go and see this. She's made floaters, diggers, builders, and more. And the photography alone is excellent, so it's well worth having a look.
A useful tool it's for Windows, but for checking USB flash drives and seeing if they're if they are what they actually say they are. There are a lot of counterfeit flash drives, like compact flash cards, USB drives, SD cards, and there are a lot of them out there. And if they're if they seem too cheap, there's probably a reason. And so, there are a lot of counterfeits, especially on, the sort of the darker, shadier corners of the internet and eBay and, third-party sellers and Amazon and stuff like that. So it's quite easy to find them. And what happens is they show up, like, let's say you buy a 16 gig SD card and you put it in, the computer says you got 16 gigs of free, but you realize that once you've put 1 gig on it, it starts overwriting itself and corrupts itself. And because it's actually only a 1 gig card with the firmware modified to make it say it's 16. And these are pretty common. So this is a bit of software that can actually check a drive. So you plug it in and you run the software on it and it will check it and make sure that it's actually all 16 gigs are there. And that'll be very useful for people if they're dealing with a lot of flash cards.
Yeah, and all this info kind of came out of a discussion started by Seamus Doyle in the Facebook group about counterfeit SD cards, going corrupt.
Echo, a small utility, displays a cat chasing the mouse on your workbench. So when the program is run, a small kitten called Echo runs around within the confines of the program's window, chasing the mouse pointer. If Echo reaches the edge of the window and the mouse pointer is outside the window boundaries, then Echo will scratch at the window border in vain, attempt to get the mouse pointer. If the mouse is then moved, Echo is startled and wakes up. Once the haze is cleared from in front of his eyes, he is off again chasing the mouse pointer. So this is a really interesting and really amusing, actually, utility. It's in the same a group of utilities, just like, for example, eyes. Do you remember that one? Eyes on the toolbar of your workbench, and whenever you move your mouse pointer, the eyes the eyes follow. And I've got it installed on my workbench, and I really enjoy it.
I have it as well. Yeah. Cool. And that was another one from Seamus, actually. So thanks, Seamus, for posting
really nice one. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, actually, I've been meaning to show my daughter that, so I've just opened it up now on Workbench, and I'm not going to turn it off until she's seen it. So, okay, let's move on to community news. The Norwich Amiga group meeting is happening in the One Life Left Norwich Gaming Cafe in the UK, and the details, full details, are on Facebook. We've got a link to it. And it's on Friday the 22nd of March from 5:30 until 9:30. I wish I could be there, guys. Have fun.
We will do our best, thank you. Syntax Error Retro Party takes place between 6th and 7th of April in Poland, in a city called Gliwice. There are a lot of things scheduled, amongst them game tournaments, live acts by Choleva, who's mainly playing dark synth, cyberpunk music and dark ambient. There are also seminaries, for example, Retro Berry Pie and Amiga, and Retro Bubble Phenomenon. One of the sponsors of that party is Retro Ready. Also, one of the organizers is the KA Plus magazine. So the link of that party will be in the show notes. The event is scheduled on Facebook too, so you can have a look.
Another demo party is Revision 2019, which is happening on April 19th to 22nd in Saarbrücken, and we've got the link to that in the show notes if you haven't already been looking at it. And finally, we have the Amiga Ireland 2019 survey results to go through. Let's go to the top. So everybody who booked tickets online, is the easiest way to communicate with people is by email. So anybody who booked online through Eventbrite was sent a link. Okay, so let's start at the top. The first question was, what was your overall experience of Amiga Ireland 2019? And the options for answers were satisfied, I want to return; neutral, I can take it or leave it; or dissatisfied, I wouldn't recommend it. And I'm very happy to say 100% of people said satisfied, I want to return. Our second question was, what was your favourite aspect of the event? And the options were workshops, gaming, after event activities, social aspect including meeting VIPs, or other. And the clear winner there was the social aspect including VIPs. The next level down then we have three joint winners, which are the workshops, the gaming and the after event activities. So Yeah, it's nice to see a result like this. It shows that everything that is on offer is wanted there, and that the general shape of the event is what people want to see. Although we did get some individual feedback with some really good suggestions, and I'll get to those in a minute. The third question, and it was a short survey, was what would you most like to see change? And the clear winner, again, by a mile, 5 times more than anything else, was to get a bigger venue, which is a fantastic request, really. And I can say that we're taking all this feedback very seriously. We've got a bigger venue secured already. It's about 3 to 4 times the size of the this year of the event just gone. And it has better facilities in terms of projectors and stuff like that, and a built-in sound system. And in the meantime, we've got a special guest to announce, and the guest is doodly-doo-doo-doo. Well, it wouldn't be any fun if we just told you straight out. So we're going to put a crossword on the website, and when you complete the crossword, you'll see who the guest is. So go to amigausers.ie and give it a go. It's a bit of fun.
Cool.
That's a lot. That's the longest I've ever spoken on this podcast. I didn't want to ask Amiga.
It's okay. I had time to get my shopping and get back. So.
Hope the frozen stuff is all taken care of.
All sorted. Yeah.
Okay, online activity. Our top tweet on the Amiga Ireland Twitter account was our thank you post, thanking everybody who's involved in all kinds of way, whether you were helping us mount a projector to the ceiling, whether you gave workshops, helped out at the door, even the people who just, could see me scratching or anyone scratching their heads and came up and said, tell me how I can help. It was fantastic. People who helped promote it, people who made videos, took photographs, who did live streams, the whole shebang. There's so many people that helped out. Thank you to everybody. And that was our top tweet. Our top Facebook post was by Seamus Doyle, and that was the aforementioned warning about counterfeit SD cards. And there's a bit of conversation going on underneath there, and we have a link to it here directly. And we've had a fair few new members to the Facebook group. We're nearly at 400 members now. So hello to Owen Kidney, Isles of Flaherty, Robert Magro, Dan Wood, Erland Dahl, Sakshaug, Walter Mamo, Colin Callanan, John Schallner, Graham Thompson, Oliver Carpato, Tom Gaskin, Aidan Doyle, Sebastian Farna, Alan DDNI, Edwin Folgero Helland, Colin McCausland, Ian Griffiths,
Leandro Rodrigo Pinheiro, Mark Kennedy, Thomas Ward, Amiga 600/500, I don't think that's their birth name, Brenda Stones, Robert Paul Hardy, Adam Craig Johnston, Howard Taylor, Celso Bernardino Costa, Robert Burnett, Pedro Souza, Patrick Frick, Andrew Santos, Michael Medetko,
Flaming Dupont, George Pappas, Matthew Smith, Eddie Brilly, Gaff or Jaff?
Jeff.
Gaff, I think Gaff.
Jeff
Major, Luis Rita, Magnus Wun, Gerontel, the Gerontel, probably. Hardy Robert Paul, Luis Bertolas, Alastair James Inglis, Adrian Wallet, Gavin Winters, Cormac Trainer. I'm sorry if I mispronounced something. It's just
to give him sure we all did.
We've all messed up a few names there, I think, but it's fine. You know who you are.
Yeah.
That Amiga A600/500, it might not be a real name, but I also know Trevor has a grandson now, so it's possibly a person's actual name.
Oh dear.
Okay, so I think that's all from us for now, unless anyone has anything to add.
No, I think it's all good.
Okay, thanks to everyone for listening, especially if you're still with us. Check out the crossword at amigausers.ie to see who our guest is for Amiga Ireland 2020. It's someone special, somebody new. And we're playing out with the winner of this year's mod contest from Amiga Ireland. First place was Dawn of Delusions by Oliver Degand, aka Nuance. Other music was by Virtual Dimensions and Banjo Guy Ollie. And please leave us a review wherever it is that you listen to us. Bye-bye.
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 going to sleep.